Okay, we are good to go.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome everyone to the Standing Committee on Reapportionment and Redistricting. We will be taking up 3 bills this morning. And what we'd like to do is kind of do it almost reverse order. We're going to do House Bill 3 and 4 first, and then we'll do House Bill 1. And this is a sponsor only hearing. And so we'd like to start out with Senator Reedy, if you want to do House Bill 4.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. Senator Justin Reedy, for the record, not driving, parked. You see my background. Here to present HB 4, which is our Carroll County Commissioners Redistricting map. We are by district. We elect 5 commissioners in Carroll County. They are elected by district. So there's 5, and the map that we have put together involved a commission in the county and a lot of input from our residents. We're very happy as a delegation. It was voted for unanimously by our delegation. We are a commissioner county, so it has to come through Annapolis. We have a pretty evenly distributed population, and we were able actually to resolve one issue with the previous map, where a couple of communities of interest and regions felt they'd been split up, for 10 years and wanted to be reunited. So we actually were able to resolve that, keep pretty much all the communities together that wanted to be. So I'd ask for your favorable report and support for this, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions?
Nope.
I don't see any. Thank you, Senator Reedy.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have House Bill 3, House Bill 3, and we have Senator Kramer. I think you're giving that one.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to all. Ben Kramer here to introduce House Bill 3, which is the Board of Education redistricting map for our Montgomery County Board of Education. There are 5 districts. We had a public hearing. There was no opposition to the proposed maps. There was only support. The delegation in both the House and the Senate voted unanimously in support of the redistricting map. So I would ask for the favorable report of the HB 3. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you, Senator Kramer.
Thank you all.
Bill 1, we have Carl Arrow, the sponsor. Give the sponsor.
Yeah, thank you.
Not being the sponsor.
Not being the sponsor, though. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. As you know, my name is Carl Arrow. Pleasure to join you this morning virtually, although I still find these virtual meetings a little strange. The congressional map adopted by the Legislative Redistricting Advisory Committee is obviously before you. And I know you've heard from me on Monday when we had the joint hearing, so I'm just going to hit a couple of points and we'll go from there. The current districts, despite their looks, represent communities of interest. Portions of these districts have remained together for a long time and reflect a commitment to following the Voting Rights Act, protecting vital federal and state investments in Maryland, and fostering longstanding relationships, ties that shouldn't be broken without thoughtful deliberation and good reason. So in light of preserving these communities of interest, when we were looking at making adjustments due to the updated census numbers, our approach was basically to move only as many Marylanders as necessary to meet the legal requirements of population, contiguity, and competitive, to make the districts competitive. Over the last few months, LRAC had 10 in-person meetings across the state, 2 virtual statewide hearings, and the commission recommended a map that's significantly more compact and contiguous than the current map. Although contiguity is an interesting concept because all the maps have been contiguous, quite honestly. The map ensures continuity of representation while decreasing the number of representatives from 4 to 3 for Baltimore and Anne Arundel counties. A map connects Anne Arundel County with the Eastern Shore acknowledging the connectivity between the areas because of the Bay Bridge. And I'd also point out, if you look back over history, you'll see that Anne Arundel in the past has also been connected with the Eastern Shore, not the first time that that's occurred. The districts in Western Maryland reflect commuter patterns and the growth in Frederick County, and the 7th Congressional District reflects the migration of residents in Baltimore City to areas in Baltimore County around the Liberty Road corridor. And finally, the map also anchors the 3rd Congressional District in Howard County, no longer splitting Columbia or Elk Ridge. So those are the points I just wanted to make this morning. Thank you so much for your time, and I urge favorable committee report.
Okay, thanks, Carl. Any questions? Okay, from here, we are going to vote on all 3 of the bills that we have here this morning. And we'll start with House Bill 4. And Jody is going to call the roll.
I think first, though, we need a motion.
Move favorable.
Okay.
Okay,
Second.
okay.
Okay. Senator Eckert,
This is on which bill? House Bill 4?
House Bill 4
which
is
is
the
the-
school board bill.
Aye. Aye.
Senator Griffith,
Aye.
Senator Gazzoni,
Yes.
Senator Hayes,
Yes.
Senator Kelly, Senator Lee,
Yes.
Senator Pinsky,
Yes.
Senator Riley,
Yes.
Senator Simonaire,
Yes.
Senator Smith,
Yes.
Senator Washington,
Aye.
Senator West,
Yes.
Senator Young,
Yes.
Senator Zucker,
Yes.
Chair King.
Yes.
And
Okay, that was House Bill 3.
4.
House Bill 4.
4.
House Bill 4.
Okay, you sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have on my list here that Senator Reedy, that was House Bill 4 that he did for Carroll County.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the vote we just took.
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, then we have House Bill 3, the Montgomery County School Board bill. Call the roll.
Move favorable.
Move favorable. Second.
I'm sorry, jeez.
Senator Eckert,
Aye.
Senator Griffith,
I vote aye.
Senator Gazzoni,
Yes.
Senator Hayes,
Yes.
Senator Kelly, Senator Lee,
Yes.
Senator Pinsky,
Aye.
Senator Riley,
Yes.
Senator Simonaire,
Yes.
Senator Smith,
Yes.
Senator Washington,
You're muted, Mary.
Yes.
Senator West,
Yes.
Senator Young,
Yes.
Senator Zucker,
Yes.
Chair King.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I have a procedural question.
Yes, go ahead.
HB 1, will we be taking, will we have an opportunity to ask questions about this bill?
I would rather have you save your questions till we get to the floor, but if you've got a couple of smaller questions, you can do them now.
Yeah, we have some of the staff available who are probably more appropriate to answer my questions, if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Arlo, I sat through, as you know, 3 of the in-person meetings and 1 of the virtual ones. Can you share with the committee who actually was formulating the map itself? Who was actually drawing the lines?
Well, I certainly wasn't one drawing the lines.
I didn't say you were. I don't know. You know who drew the lines.
Well, I know that basically based on what we heard from testimony, staff was directed to put together some maps for us. So those maps came back to us as a group, and it was, the technicians basically that drew the lines.
Right,
And when you say technicians, you mean the members of the Department of Legislative Services?
Yes.
correct.
If I may extend a question to Michelle Davis, Madam Chair, would that be appropriate?
Yes, it would be.
Thank you very much. Ms. Davis, was there any indications given to you and your technicians, your staff, about how the maps were to be drawn by any members of our legislative body or anybody from the outside,
From the outside? No,
such
not,
as current congressman?
no, not at all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam Chair,
Is there a motion on this?
I had one question, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. I'm trying to get that hand up there. So this is a question I've heard several times, and I just heard recently on your testimony, Mr. Arrow, that you were trying to move as few people as possible. And then it was basically the maps were drawn based on what we heard in testimony. Overwhelmingly, we heard people say that they didn't want the maps gerrymandered. Was there a map put together that they would try not to have a gerrymandered map, as the baseline is well known to be gerrymandered, even from the former governor who put that together? So was that input taken and put into a map and we just didn't see it?
I think it's difficult to define anything necessarily as gerrymandered on the basis of its appearance. I could probably put together a map that would look a lot more like the governor's map and still be accused of gerrymandering. You can do a lot of mischief with the data and so forth. I would say basically over the years, we've always started with what's on the ground and what has been there for the past 10 years and even longer, and made adjustments going forward. I think that is an established practice that we've always used, and I think the map has been improved.
There was no attempt to take that comment from the public and try to turn that into a map, because what was understood was DLS took the comments from the public hearings and presented 5 maps based on their input. But I don't recall any map being put forth saying this is one where we took the comments that they wanted a less gerrymandered map that the former governor previously said that he purposely gerrymandered. So there was no effort to do that.
I think you could, the map is, in your words, less gerrymandered. It may not be as much as it possibly could have been, but I think that the effort does reflect districts that are better than the ones that we had currently in the 2010 plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Senator Young.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we're voting on the final suggested 2 map.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Senator West.
Thank you. So I've got a question for Carl, if I could, and perhaps for Michelle. I actually tried to read the bill, which is 50 pages long, and nearly the entire bill consists of invading precincts and dividing census tracts. And so I called the head of the Baltimore County Election Board to try to find out what this would mean in practical terms, logistically on the ground. And she nearly had a heart attack. And she said, goodness, she said, this is going to take, we're going to have to re-precinct the county. She said that the amount of time involved is going to be extraordinary. And then once we get all the precincts redone, we're going to have to send everybody in the county new election cards showing what new precincts. And then we're going to have to send information out about where those precincts vote. And she said, we're going to have to engage new places for voting and buy new equipment for voting. She said, this is going to be a logistical nightmare. So I'm looking at 50 pages. I can understand why for each congressional district, you might want to have to take 2 or maybe 3 precincts and do the census tract work in order to come up to the exact numerical population that you're aspiring to. I can't understand why you'd have 50 pages of this. What was the rationale employed in deciding to go into so many precincts across the state and pull them apart and put them back together again?
Well, I don't know that it's been pretty much common practice ever since we basically went to block data. In 1981-82, only portions of the state were block data, and it was harder to get to numbers that you needed to get to. Also, 91-80 and 1982, you didn't have to have the exactness in population equality that we have to have now. Basically, it is just it's a numbers game, and it is an undertaking that is significant. And Baltimore County is not alone in this. But they don't have to create new precincts. They can consolidate precincts. They can move precincts around as much as they need to. I know in my own area, after 10 years ago, my precinct actually doubled in size because of having to re-precinct. How much new equipment they'd have to buy, I really couldn't answer that question. But it is a function primarily of making the numbers work to get down to that zero variance, or as close to zero as you can.
Well, as I say, I can understand why you'd have to do 2 or 3 precincts per congressional district. I can't understand why you made 30 precincts.
Well, I think it's a function of where you put the overall lines. It's also a function of how you can move people. Not all blocks are equal numbers. So you're looking, I guess for a better way to put it is puts and takes, where if I have to move X number of people from one district to another to balance it, I've got to find the blocks that do it. And they're not always neatly numbered. Like if I need 1,000 people, I'm not going to find a block with 1,000 people. I might find a block with a couple of hundred, and then you keep working your way down, and you get to a point where you're basically trying to find a block with 2 or 3 people to move one way or the other to make it work. It's the curse of big data, quite frankly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Eckert.
Thank you very much, Carl or Michelle. I just had some questions on how, when you go in and look at the numbers, Carl, you said the census block. So when you shifted out parts of Cecil and Hartford County and moved in Anne Arundel County, is that merely a numbers game? Because my concern is that the Eastern Shore is predominantly rural, and it seems like we're putting more folks who are less rural in the mix than before. And so I wondered if we're talking about similar cultures and contiguousness with just numbers.
I think to a large extent it is a numbers game, but it also is in response to Cecil County wanting to remain in the first congressional, and the desire, and from what we heard, not taking the first district across the top into Baltimore County, almost all the way to Carroll County. So that's basically the answer, I think.
Would you say, are they similar are they more similar than dissimilar?
I couldn't answer.
Or not?
I don't.
Yeah, I guess part of my concern is that I've heard from a number of the folks with the census that we still didn't get the numbers of the people who are really living on the Eastern Shore, because we still have a number of the population, and the speculation is at least 10,000 more. I think everybody made a real good effort to get census to the best of their ability. But my concern is that we are changing, that we're not really reflecting the district with that kind of a shift. And I'm just trying to figure out how to get my head around that, because I think it is going to make a difference.
The only thing we can work with is the data from the census.
Right.
If there were undercounts,
Correct.
there are undercounts.
Yeah.
And it's,
I hear you, but I know, and I will just say, in Dorchester County, because of how the lines are drawn, it will be very difficult for minority populations to ever be elected. And that's a concern to me, because if you look at the way the line, and they're not congressional lines, but I think the lines within the congressional district does make a difference in how the makeup of the lines are drawn. So
well, when we get to start working on legislative maps, we'll see what's there.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're on mute, Madam Chair.
Senator Pinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Arrow, two questions. One regarding Senator West. After each redistricting, don't each local board of elections have to send out new cards because of precinct changes regarding state legislative, congressional, and in some cases, local elections, and that's a normal practice? Obviously, a lot of things change. You have a lot of different lines. You have school board as well.
Right.
Doesn't every local board of elections go through that?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And because districts don't just sit on top of each other, they also have the issue of, like, when the election comes, they got to drop a ballot, and ballots get very complicated. And you can have several forms of a ballot in any given county because of the way lines just happen to fall.
Right.
So yes, you're right.
Right. And the second question, correct me if I'm wrong. You had a number of interests. One was to try to retain as many people in their existing district as possible, but also try to make the districts more, I guess the word is competitive or based on performance. So you would straddle a number of different things, correct? In terms of not doing a wholesale relocation, which I think Senator West mentioned, and it's trying to make them more competitive. Can we characterize it that way?
I think that you can. Certainly, there's something to be said for continuity. I think that people, by and large, it's not hard to find out who represents you or what district you're in. I think in keeping people in the same districts that they've been in, by and large, it's not a bad idea. So continuity is an important thing. There's nothing wrong with preserving cores of existing districts to the extent you can.
Right, but if we moved fewer districts, or precincts, I should say, then it might have maintained less competitive districts. So
I think the districts are somewhat, yeah, I think that's been the trend, even with, I think the, I mean, I had, honestly, I haven't looked at any kind of turnout numbers or registration numbers at all. But I think the districts, the trend had been, even with the current plan of 2010, those districts were somewhat more competitive.
Right.
It had to be.
But there's always a tension, whether it's conscious or not. If you make them more competitive, you have to move a lot more people, and you have to address the lack of maintaining people's existing districts and trying to figure out who their new congressperson would be, or else if you just simply maintain the status quo, it maintains the status quo, whatever the results are. In other words, there's a tension in the actions you take and the results, either politically or on the ground, they may have.
I think that anytime you move lines, that's the case. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have that tension, and depending on what areas you move, you either increase competitiveness or decrease competitiveness.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank my colleagues, the staff, and everyone who's played a role in this. This is my first time participating in this process, and we appreciate your leadership, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to move favorable on House Bill 1.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to second that motion and to move forward with the recommendation of my colleague from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, Jody, do you want to call the roll, please?
Senator Eckert.
No.
Senator Griffith.
I vote aye.
Senator Gazzoni.
Yes.
Senator Hayes.
Yes.
Senator Kelly. Senator Lee.
Yes.
Senator Pinsky.
Yes.
Senator Riley.
He's muted.
I think that was a thumbs down.
Ed, we didn't hear the word you uttered while you were
I'm sorry.
unmuted.
No.
Senator Simon Ayer,
No.
Senator Smith,
Yes.
Senator Washington,
Yes.
Senator West,
No.
Senator Young,
Yes.
Senator Zucker,
Yes.
Chair King.
Yes.
And it passed.
Okay. Thank you all for your help in all of this. Quite an interesting process, and I'm glad to have you all be a part of it. So now we just need to go and take it to the floor. Thank you all.